All right, we're gonna start this. We got this baby right here. Can you see that? F 1.0. Oh shit. The hell, man? We're gonna compare it to this baby right here, 56, and whether or not it's worth it. All right. The 50. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tongue, and if you're new to the channel, I do photography and Fujifilm content on this channel. I love taking photos and I love talking about gear. So if that's something that you're into, why don't you go ahead and click that subscribe button for me. It helps the channel out, and hopefully once this channel gets bigger, I'll start doing some giveaways. Back to the 50mm f1. We're going to talk about this lens and answer the question, should you get this lens? Should you upgrade from the 56mm f1.2? Is this lens worth that $1,500 price tag? And who is this lens for? We're going to start with the build quality. This lens is a tank, a beast. It's probably one of the girthiest lenses I ever held. I'm afraid of holding this with one hand. It's just so damn big. That's what she said. I don't have it in me today. I don't feel like doing this. This thing is a hefty lens, that's for sure. It's metal construction. It has a premium feel to it. This thing also has weather sealing. So unlike the 56mm f1.2, which doesn't, if you guys want to shoot portraits in not so good weather conditions, this thing will survive it for sure. I almost hate bringing this out into the public just because of how big it is. So I took this lens outside for some street photography last week, and let me tell you, it wasn't fun holding it with my X-T4. I did feel my hand getting a bit fatigued after a couple hours of walking. So up next is the autofocus. So as I was using this lens with my X-T4, I find the autofocusing to be adequate. It's not as fast focusing. That is fine because of all the motors inside. This is a huge glass. Just look at it, man. Like this thing, you can't expect this lens to be that snappy with that much glass to move inside, and it's an f1. So when I was shooting a portrait session with Paige, it had no problem sticking onto the eyes and nailing focus. It did a lot better than the 56mm f1.2, so that's a plus. And all in all, even though I wish it was a bit quicker, I am happy with its focusing. I would say this lens is in the middle when it comes to autofocusing. It is slightly better than the f1.4 lenses such as the 16, the 23, and the 34, and the 56mm f1.2, but it's slower than the 35mm f2, the 23mm f2, the 50mm f2. Check. All right, now I'm looking at the flippy screen, and with the X-T4 and this lens, it's quite sticky. I can see the green, the face recognition, and then the eye tracking box on my eyes. So it's doing really well right now. I look like an idiot. Oh, it's like I'm boxing against myself, and it's still holding on, which is quite impressive. So I think this autofocusing is a lot better than the 56 f1.2, that's for sure. Like it's no slouch. Like if I keep moving like this, obviously it's going to disappear a little bit, but it comes back, and it comes back really quick. It just loses you for like a split second, and then once you come back into frame, it should be good. But we're going to try. I want to try to get out of the frame and then come back into the frame, see how fast that is. Okay, so now it's focused on the TV, and how fast was that? How fast was that? Is that really fast? I'm gonna do it again. Oh my god. I'm gonna do it again. So I'm going to get out of the frame, and I see the TV is in focus. Come back. What are you doing? Man, let's see how close I can get. Let's see how close. I think this is my focus. Nope. Not focus now. I think here is the closest that it'll go. Let me know. But this is, again, autofocusing at f1. Also, the settings is normal. Everything is at 0. The focusing settings at 0. So we're just leaving it as stock as we can. And again, pretty dope. Oh, let's see the bokeh. How does the bokeh look? Wow, buttery. Man, this makes for a great video lens, that's for sure. Come back to me. There we go. Now that took a long time to focus. I think just because it's dark. What do you guys think? Oh my god, I'm running out of breath. Oh. All right. I think that's about it. Back to you. Let's move on to the image quality. So people want to know what the image quality is like. It's good. It's sharp, wide open. Shooting this at f1 will obliterate the background, giving you some crazy bokeh, tone, some serious subject isolation. It's incredible to see what Fujifilm has done with an autofocusing f1 lens in today's age. You got to give props to Fuji for that, but you got to be careful shooting this thing wide open with a tight portrait at f1. The focal plane at f1 is so thin, your portraits might end up looking soft like mine right here. So just be mindful of that. You'll get some great images once you stop it down to like f2, f2.8 to f8. So again, the image quality is solid for me. Also, shooting wide open during the day, you'll need ND filters or switch from mechanical shutter to electronic shutter to get an even faster shutter speed to control that light. I used this during an overcast day, and there were times where the sun was peeking out just a little bit, and at f1 it was unusable. So imagine shooting this during midday sun. So again, you'll need ND filters in order to shoot this thing wide open. The video quality on this lens is great. Shooting f1 in low light situations have been quite fun for me. I shot some stuff downtown and I was really impressed by its low light capabilities. At f1 you can just gather in so much light, it's ridiculous. Like, you can take a look at some of my footage that I got. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, when I was just walking downtown, I was just using this lens a lot, and yeah, I was really enjoying just recording, like filming stuff at f1. Like with f1 you can just let in a lot of light and it's crazy. Let's move on to the negative, because there are some negatives. You're going to get a lot of fringing, a lot of chromatic aberrations wide open, especially wide open. If you want to see more 56mm versus the 50mm f1 comparison, click up here somewhere and you're going to see me comparing both lenses and talk more about the fringing. Okay, and you'll be surprised because when you stop this down to f2.8, you'll still see that the 50mm f1 has a lot more chromatic aberrations than the 56mm f1 too. So there's that. Another thing, this thing is so damn loud, man. The motors in here are huge. It's clunky. You think the 56mm f1 II was bad? Just wait until you hear this one. Like, even though I'm not shooting with it and I'm walking around with it, I can still feel and hear the motors grinding when I'm just walking around downtown. So yeah, it's just a little weird for me to just feel just the motors just going back and forth and just grinding. Okay, guys, you want to hear how loud that grinding noise is? Like, you can hear this and you can also feel this when you're walking around with it. Did you guys hear that? I don't know, man. That sounds pretty loud to me. I keep hearing that over and over again, and it just gets really, really clunky when I go out. And then it just drives me a little paranoid because I think like something's going on in there, and there's probably like almost make it. It almost feels like it's overworking too much. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. Another negative, it's big, but that just goes without saying. Since it's an f1, you really can't take this lens out as a walking around lens. I did that just because, you know, I'm trying to test out this lens, and I just find it more cumbersome to use. I didn't like the fact that it was like making my hands tired, and then when you shoot street photography with this thing is not inconspicuous, so it's just large and it's big, and everyone can see that, and then it just makes me look like I'm fucking spying on them. So the price tag is going to turn people off. At $1,500, so it's quite a bit of change to shell out, especially when the beloved 56mm f1.2 is cheaper, is smaller, and the image quality is comparable.
Same, but different.
You're really going to have to weigh out your options here. Which one is it? Do you want the newer, faster focusing weather sealed f1 lens, or the tried and true, the fan favorite, less than half the price, the 56mm f1.2? Okay, let's answer that question. Should you get this lens at $1,500? In my opinion, if it was up to me, I would pass on this lens. If you already have the 56mm f1.2, stick to it. The image quality is almost identical, especially when stopped down. The only advantage that the 50mm has is the f1, the autofocusing, and the weather sealing. From f1.2 to f1 isn't that big of a jump, so is that worth the premium price tag for you guys? I think this is a very specific market. The people that want this will probably have the money to buy this lens. I can see wedding photographers needing this f1 with the faster autofocusing to film some scenes indoors. Working professionals who benefits with its quicker autofocusing at f1, its weather sealing, and its image quality. And if the only reason you want to buy this lens is for the bokeh at f1, there are other lenses out there that can do the same for less. The 90mm f2 with its compression and its bokeh can produce some terrific images for less. But again, if you do have the money, by all means, it is your money. You can do whatever you want. For the hobbyists and the enthusiasts, the 56mm is an amazing lens. You're not missing out with the 50mm f1. This is a very good lens. It's sharp, but for me, I find the 50mm f1.0 to be the most clinical lens Fujifilm has ever put out. We all know why we got into Fujifilm in the first place, and that's because their gear inspire us to go out and take photographs. And when we do this, it's fun, it's exciting, and you want to keep shooting more. So with the 50mm f1, after the initial excitement of shooting with this thing wore off in a day or two, it leaves a lot to be desired. I just find the shooting experience not to be as fun as when I whip out the 56mm f1.2. I don't know, maybe it's a placebo effect, or maybe there's some sort of sentimental attachment to the 56. Maybe there's some sort of bias because, you know, again, I really like the 56. That was one of the first portrait lenses I used, and I took some great images with it. And yeah, I prefer the look of the 56mm, and maybe that's because it doesn't look too clinical. There are characteristics in the 56mm that were missing in the 50mm f1. And as I compared images shot between the two, all I can think about is that the 50mm has that clinical look, and you don't always want that sharp look. I can't really explain it, so if you guys know what this phenomenon that I'm trying to explain, please let me know, because I can't find the words for it. And although I took some amazing images with the f1, I don't think it's worth that price tag. Anyway guys, you guys can save your money with this lens. I just saved you guys 1,500 bucks. Just hold on to that money and use it to fund the GFX 100S. I am happy with my 56mm at the moment. I don't think I'll be getting this 50mm f1 anytime soon. Special shout out goes out to Bryan, one of my Instagram friends who loaned me this lens to review. I'll leave his Instagram down in this description so you guys can thank him If not for him, this review wouldn't be possible. So thank you, Bryan. Make sure to give him a follow. And while you're there, make sure to follow me on Instagram as well at Iamtongue. That's where you can see more of my work. All images were taken with Fujifilm gear. But what do you guys think? Can anyone justify paying this price tag for this lens? At this point, I just feel like this lens is only here for you to flex. Let me know your thoughts below. And that is it for me, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. I love you. Okay, bye.